Now, one question I'm seeing a lot in regards to the M6 Mark II is, do I need the electronic viewfinder? And I think that is primarily coming from people who already have some of the lenses, have been in the system before, and are wondering, is it worth the extra price to upgrade to the kit rather than just buying the body? And I'm going to answer that question in two different parts. First, is it necessary to have the electronic viewfinder? And second, what do you get as far as functionality and usability of the camera goes if you do get the electronic viewfinder as part of the kit? Now, I think the first thing people are concerned about is if they don't have the electronic viewfinder, if there's really bright sun with the screen, they're not going to be able to see what they're doing, what they're framing, see the proper exposure. And I can tell you from my experience, I've been using this camera for about a month. I live in Australia. It's the beginning of summer, and we have one of the highest rates of skin cancer in the world. We have some of the brightest sun. I don't think we have any ozone left. And I have not had a single issue with not being able to see what I'm filming with the screen. In fact, in the past month, I've really only put on the electronic viewfinder just to sort of test the electronic viewfinder and see how it works. I generally am a shooter that uses screen only, both for photo and video. And I found with the M6 Mark II that you can use all the function of the camera. It works completely fine. Even in bright sun, you're going to have no issue filming or doing photography if you don't have the electronic viewfinder. But that begs the question, who should get the electronic viewfinder? In what situations would you use the electronic viewfinder? And how does it make your experience with the camera better? Well, the first thing in playing with the electronic viewfinder is there's one really cool function you get when you use the viewfinder. When you slide the viewfinder on, it gives you the ability to use the back of the screen as a touchpad for focusing. So when I'm looking through that viewfinder, I can use my thumb to select the autofocus point. And I just move that around to whatever I want to focus on, and then I half press, it focuses. Not only does it focus, it then uses tracking to lock onto that subject. Now, you have to enable that in the menu system. And kind of another neat thing about that is since I shoot left-eyed, my nose is actually touching the screen on the right side of the screen. Now, if that was the location that it was using for the touchpad, that would screw up the touchpad. But in the menu system, it allows you to select which side of the screen you want to use to represent the touchpad. And if you're left-eyed like me, you'll set it to the left side of the screen. If you shoot with your right eye, you will set it to the right side of the screen. So whichever eye you use creates the extra space on the other side of the screen, and then that's the part of the screen that you set as the touchpad. And it works incredibly well. In fact, it is really, really cool. You get this little green little circle, and just as you move your thumb around, you find the point that you want to focus on, and it uses that to set both your focus and your exposure. And as I said, once you half press the shutter button, it enables the tracking feature and actually locks onto that object. So if it's a person, you select their face, half press the focus, and it's locked onto that person. So say you're shooting a group of people, or you're in the city and there's a whole bunch of people walking at you, but there's really one person you want to focus on. You can look through the viewfinder, select that person's face, half press the shutter button, and you are now locked onto that person, and it's tracking them the whole time they're coming towards you, beside you, away from you, whatever it is. So that is a pretty neat feature, and it's actually only in the last few days that I've sort of discovered that, and it's made me think that I probably will play with the viewfinder a little bit more. Having said that, if you're just shooting with the back of the screen, you can always just touch on something and it selects it. It's just this feature where you can kind of scan around with your thumb. I don't know, it's kind of neat. I don't know if it really makes much difference or not, but it is a neat feature. Now, the next thing, as far as using the electronic viewfinder goes, some people just prefer to shoot with a viewfinder. And I can see some reasons for that. When you hold the camera to your eye and you're using the viewfinder, you really do block out everything else around you. So from a creative perspective, it really allows you to focus on what's in the frame. And what you're seeing, what you're completely focused on is what your photograph or video is going to be. Where if you are shooting with the back of the screen, of course you're looking at the screen, you see what's on the screen, but you can see everything else that is around you as well. So that does create some distraction, and depending on the way you work best or the way you like to frame your subjects, from a creative perspective, you might find that you want to use the electronic viewfinder. But when it comes to the ability to take photo and video in bright light and use the functions of the camera, the electronic viewfinder is really unnecessary. And in fact, I've really only used it a couple times just sort of to play with it, and I've only just recently discovered this neat little thumb tracking joystick function, touchpad function. Now the next thing I should talk about is the price. So if you're trying to decide between the kit, which comes with the lens and the electronic viewfinder, or just the body, I think a lot of it also comes down to price. Now, recommended retail price on the kit is $10.99, and recommended retail price on the body only is $8.49. That's a $250 difference. Now, is the electronic viewfinder and the kit lens worth the $250? I don't know, maybe, but if you already have that same kit lens, probably not. I mean, you could buy it for the $250 and maybe you don't need the kit lens, so you sell it and keep the viewfinder. So at $250, I think it is debatable if you already have the lens, if you already have a lens from a previous model, whether you would go for the kit. Because then you're just getting the electronic viewfinder and you're paying $250 just for the viewfinder, which, unless it's something you really love shooting through a viewfinder, it's probably not necessary. But sometimes the kit is on sale. So if the kit is on sale and it comes down to only, say, a $150 difference between the body only and the kit, then I would heavily lean towards getting the kit. Even if you don't need the lens, you could actually resell that lens, and probably an as-new 15 to 45 pulled out of the box and put up on eBay is going to get at least $100, but maybe $120. You might recover nearly all your money. Then you've got the electronic viewfinder for free. In that situation, I would really recommend going with the full kit and getting the viewfinder, because it is sort of a neat little option. The other thing I would suggest is, if there's only a $150 difference between the kit and the body only, you could actually buy the kit, sell the lens, have a play with the electronic viewfinder, and if you decide that you don't really need that, you could sell that as well. And certainly the two of those sold on eBay are going to get well more than $150, probably $250 to $300 realistically, if kept in new condition and sold on eBay as new, pulled out of a new box. So there's a few different options there. You don't need the electronic viewfinder to get the most out of the camera, but it is kind of a neat option. It gives you something different to play with, but to be honest, I've had the camera for over a month now. I have hardly used the electronic viewfinder. It's just not the way I shoot photo or video. So if you're wondering, do I absolutely have to have this viewfinder to make the most of the camera? The answer to that is no. If you're interested in the M6 Mark II or any of the EOS M cameras or this system, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm doing a special series on them right now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.